today's class, we will be discussing about the uh, new generation vaccines, or the you can say that the modern biotechnology based, or not biotechnology, I mean say modern genetically engineering based vaccines. So here the question comes: what is meant by biotechnology based vaccines? So you see, any vaccine that is in the market that is commercially used now, all these vaccines are biotechnology based vaccines. Okay. What we are going to discuss is the genetically engineered vaccines, or I would say new generation vaccines. So you know that conventionally we say that the vaccines are mainly of two types. So one is one type of vaccine. So vaccines are mainly of two types. So one is live vaccine, and the second one is the non-live vaccine. So conventionally, we say that the non-live vaccines are killed vaccines. Okay. So basically, we have two types of vaccine. One is the live vaccine and the killed vaccine. So killed vaccine we call now broadly we say it is a non-live vaccine. Non-live means it is not live. Okay. So for example, a Brucella vaccine. So Brucella vaccine is a live vaccine. Okay. And you have say the HS vaccine. HS means hemorrhagic septicemia. So this particular vaccine is a killed vaccine. Okay. That means the organism is killed. It is a dead vaccine. Okay. So now earlier we use either live vaccine or killed vaccine. Okay. The live vaccines and killed vaccine, they have their own advantages and disadvantages. Okay. So let us briefly discuss about the conventional vaccines first. So let us talk about the live vaccines on. So what are the live vaccines? So live vaccines are those vaccines, okay, where the live organisms are used. Okay. So example is Brucella vaccine. Okay. So in the Brucella vaccine, the Brucella abortus strain 19 is used. Okay. Now, what is this strain 19? So strain 19, it is a strain of Brucella abortus that does not cause the disease. See, if we use a live organism as a vaccine, what will happen if you use the live organism as a vaccine? So that live organism will itself will cause the disease. What you want is that your vaccine should not cause the disease, but it should stimulate immune response. Okay. So that is why in case of live vaccine, what is done? We take a I would say that what we do, we will take a strain of the bacteria or the virus, okay, that is not pathogenic. Okay. So Brucella abortus is a pathogenic bacteria, okay, that causes brucellosis in case of animals. Okay. But there are some strains of Brucella abortus that does not have the capability to cause the disease. So strain 19 is among them. Okay. So that is why we can use those strains, those non-pathogenic strains of pathogen, okay, which does not cause the disease, and we can use them as a live vaccine. So this kind of live virus or the live bacteria, once you inject it to the animal, so they will go inside and they will not cause the disease, but they will stimulate immune response. And this immune response will also act against the uh, live pathogenic bacteria or virus. Okay, whichever you are using. That is what is the live vaccine. Okay. Now, this kind of live vaccines. Okay. So, what is their advantages? Advantages is that produce high level of immunity. That means their protection is higher than other vaccines. Okay, so that is the most important requirement of the most important advantage of the live vaccine. Now, the if we talk about the disadvantage of the live vaccine, number one is that the a virulent strain of pathogen, okay, that is used as a vaccine may become virulent inside the host. That means what I'm saying is that it is possible that you are using a particular strain of a pathogen which you are thinking that it is a avirulent. Avirulent means non-pathogenic, will not cause any pathogenic, will not cause the disease. But once, sometimes, not every time, sometimes it may happen. Once this avirulent organism goes inside the body, it may become virulent. Okay, that means it may acquire the pathogenic characteristics. Okay, as a result, what will happen? Your vaccine will itself will cause the disease. That is the important drawback of the live vaccine. Now we come to the killed vaccine. Now, killed vaccine, why we are using killed vaccine? The reason is that, see, you can use the live vaccine only when you have a non-pathogenic strain of a bacteria or virus. But many a times you do not have any non-pathogenic strain of bacteria or virus. Example is the FMD virus. FMD virus, nobody has ever discovered any strain of FMD virus which is uh, avirulent. Similarly, is the Pasteurella multocida that causes the hemorrhagic septicemia. So till now, no strain of Pasteurella multocida has been discovered that does not cause disease. All strains of Pasteurella multocida will cause the disease. So in that case, the option remains with you is not to go for live vaccine because it is not possible. You don't have any avirulent strain. So in that case, what you will do, you will just take the pathogenic bacteria or virus and kill it and use the dead virus or dead bacteria as a vaccine. Okay. So now the advantage of kill vaccine. So first advantage is shelf life is longer. Now, what is meant by shelf life? Shelf life means the live vaccine. Okay, it will work only when in the vaccine your organisms are live. If they are dead, your vaccine will not work. So in that case, when you use the vaccine, your organism must be alive. Okay, that means if you keep it in the refrigerator for a longer period of time, after some times this organism will die, and thereafter, if you use that vaccine, it will not work. Now, with the killed vaccine, the shelf life is high. Shelf life means how much time you can store the vaccine without using it. Why it is high? Because the vaccine is already killed vaccine. It will remain for a longer period of time. You can keep this vaccine in 4 degrees for a long period. No problem. Okay. But live vaccine you cannot keep in the refrigerator for a long period of time. Okay. That is the important drawback. Is the important advantage of the killed vaccine. Okay. Fine. Now, there is no question of reversion back to virulent form. So you know the live vaccine, what happens? Many times inside the body they become virulent. Sometimes. But in case of killed vaccine, they are dead. So there is no question of reversion back to the virulent form, which you find in case of live vaccines. Then, apart from that, okay. Now, what are the disadvantages? So, first disadvantage is level of immunity is less than that of live. So, how much immunity the live vaccine can give? That much immunity cannot be given by the killed vaccine. Live vaccine gives more immunity than killed vaccine. Okay. Then the second point is there is possibility of accidental escape of killing process. Now, kill vaccine, what do you do? Just take the organism and you have to kill it. How you will kill? Either you will kill by adding formaldehyde or some other chemical, or you can kill by heating. Just take the organism and heat them, they will get killed. Okay. The problem is that when you kill the organism, sometimes some of the organism may remain alive. That is called accidental escape of killing process. So your killing process may not be efficient. So it should be confirmed that 100% of the bacteria that you are using for vaccine should be killed. If 1% of the bacteria remains alive accidentally, then in that case, what will happen when you will use this vaccine? Because some of the organisms are not properly killed, so they may cause the disease. They may cause the havoc. Okay. So, and sometimes allergic reaction. So, allergic reaction means in this case, what happens if you are using the chemical method to kill the bacteria or the virus? So these chemicals sometimes, not always, sometimes they cause the allergic reactions to the individual to which the vaccine is administered. So these are the disadvantages of the live vaccine and kill vaccine, advantages of live vaccine and kill vaccine. Now we come to the new generation vaccine. Okay, so we will talk about the genetically modified or genetically engineered vaccine. Okay, so these are the new generation vaccine. Okay, so among them, the first one is the recombinant protein vaccines or recombinant subunit vaccine. So what is that recombinant protein vaccine? So as the name indicates, subunit vaccine. Okay. Now in this case, what you can see is that what do we understand by subunit vaccine? What is meant by subunit vaccine? So in this case, what I mean is that supposing that this is a particular pathogen, it is a virus, suppose. Okay. Now this virus, you know that the virus itself is an antigen. Okay. Now this antigen has got a lot of epitopes. Okay. So supposing that so this is one epitope, then I would say that this is one epitope, and let us say that this one is another epitope. Okay. So the thing is that all the epitopes, okay, they are not equally immunogenic. Those so particular in a particular antigen, only that epitope is more immunogenic, which is more exposed. Say for example, this is my hand is a complete antigen. Okay. Now these are four epitopes. Okay. Let us say these four epitopes are like this. Okay. Fine. So now among these four epitopes, this particular epitope is more exposed. It is more exposed to the surface. And these other three epitopes are less exposed to the surface. So this epitope will be more immunogenic. Okay. So what I can do is that instead of using the whole bacteria or whole virus as an antigen, as a vaccine, what I can do is that I can use only this part of the virus or bacteria as a vaccine. So that is called subunit vaccine. So that means the whole of the virus, this whole of the virus, this is a unit. This is a unit, and these are subunits. So if I use only this particular epitope, if I use only this particular epitope, okay, for vaccination, okay, so in that case, this will be called as subunit vaccine. Okay, so let's say I'm using only, oh, sorry. So I'm using only this particular epitope as a vaccine. So now this will be called as subunit vaccine. That means if I use the complete virus or bacteria as a vaccine, it will be a unit vaccine. That means I'm using the whole unit. So your complete bacteria or complete virus is a unit. But if you're taking only a part of the virus or bacteria, so it will be called as subunit vaccine. Okay. So if you're using this subunit only, so it is called subunit vaccine. Okay. Now here in this case, we are talking about the recombinant protein or subunit vaccine. So now how to produce that? What is done? Supposing that this is the virus. Okay, fine. And then let us assume that this is the most immunogenic epitope in the virus. So what we want to do, we want to take this particular immunogenic epitope and to take it out. What we want is that we want to take out this particular immunogenic epitope and use it as subunit vaccine. So you cannot take it out as such. So what we can do is, see, the virus, they have got a DNA inside, DNA or RNA, whatever it is. Okay. So for example, this particular virus, this is the DNA of the virus. Okay. And let us assume that this part of the DNA, okay, I'm just drawing this in the red color. So this part of the DNA is a gene. The gene that is responsible for making this particular epitope. So what we can do is that we can isolate this gene. So what we will do, we will isolate only that particular gene. We'll take that particular gene, okay, fine. And then this particular gene, it will be incorporated into a plasmid vector. This is plasmid, okay. To this plasmid, this gene will be incorporated. Okay, fine. Now this becomes a recombinant plasmid. Okay. Now this recombinant plasmid is what? It's a kind of DNA. Now this recombinant plasmid, this will be inserted into a bacteria. So let us say this is a bacteria. Okay. And what we are doing is that so this is the recombinant plasmid. Red color is the gene for making that particular epitope. Okay, and this is the plasmid. Okay, fine. So what we have done is that we have just inserted this particular recombinant plasmid into the bacterial cell. This is the bacterial cell. Inside the bacterial cell, what will happen? This particular gene, it will be transcribed. So this gene will be transcribed into mRNA. This is the mRNA. This mRNA will go to ribosome of bacteria. Okay. And then in ribosome, what will happen? This will produce a protein. Okay. This will produce a protein. Okay. That is what we call protein synthesis. Okay. So now this protein, sorry. So now this particular protein that has been made in the bacteria, okay, that protein is similar to this particular protein. This protein is an epitope. Okay. So once you will take it out, so now you are having that particular epitope. Now this epitope is, let's say, it is similar to this epitope. Okay. What we are going to do is that now this epitope that we have got, this epitope, we will use it as a vaccine. So it is your subunit vaccine. So now why we are calling it as recombinant protein? Because we have got this by recombinant DNA technology, where we put the gene in a plasmid. Plasmid is a DNA, and then we get the recombinant DNA. This recombinant DNA is inserted into a bacterial cell. Okay, the bacterial cell will produce the recombinant protein. That is the subunit vaccine. Okay, am I clear here?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Now we go to the next one, that is the recombinant DNA vaccine. Recombinant DNA vaccine. So in case of recombinant DNA vaccine, okay, what is done? We'll just discuss it briefly. So here, the same thing is done. Just like, let's remove this one. It is called so it is called recombinant DNA vaccine, or simply we call it DNA vaccine. So in this case, what happens? Okay, this gene, this particular gene is taken out, okay, and we put it inside a plasmid, that is a DNA. Okay, now this DNA, okay, normally what happens, this DNA is inserted in a bacterial cell. In the bacterial cell, it will produce this particular protein. But in the DNA vaccine, what is done? This DNA that you obtain, this DNA itself is injected to the animal. So what happens? Say, let me remove all these things. So now this is the recombinant DNA. Okay. So this recombinant DNA, it is injected to the animal. Okay. So let us say this is the animal. You did the injection. So inside the animal body, what will happen? This particular DNA, it will transcribe and translate into the protein. So it will translate into the protein. Okay, fine. Now this protein, that is your epitope. Okay, this is your this particular epitope. You are producing it inside the animal body. Now this will stimulate immune response. To stimulate immune response. Okay. Now you see what is the difference with the earlier one. In earlier case, what happened? We took the gene that makes the epitope. That gene we put it in a plasmid, and this plasmid we put it inside the bacterial cell. This bacterial cell will produce the protein, and that protein is similar to this protein. I use this protein as a vaccine. Okay. In this case, what we are doing, we are taking the gene same way, putting it into the plasmid. Now, this plasmid is not put in a bacterial cell. Rather, this plasmid itself is used as a vaccine. When it is injected to the body, so inside the body, this plasmid will produce the protein. That protein is your epitope. So that's how the animal body itself will make the vaccine. That means if it is injected to the animal, inside the animal, that DNA will produce the antigen or the vaccine. That vaccine will give the protection to the animal. So now, what are the advantages of the DNA vaccine? If we look into the advantages of the DNA vaccine, okay, so the first advantage of DNA vaccine is this vaccine is highly sturdy. You know that the DNA of dinosaurs is still available. That means what? The DNA is very sturdy. It doesn't get destroyed. So the DNA vaccine that you are making, that vaccine is DNA. So now you can store this DNA vaccine in the room temperature. The 4-degree storage is not required for DNA vaccine. Okay. Then it has got a very long shelf life. You can keep the DNA vaccine years in the room temperature. There is no problem. But other vaccines you cannot keep. Okay. And the third thing is, so you can say that long shelf life. Okay. Then the third point is it stimulates both the arms of immune system. The immune system has got two arms. One is called humoral immunity. So immune system has got two arms. One is called humoral immunity, and second one is called cell-mediated. You have two arms. Okay. So a vaccine which can give better immune response should be able to stimulate both the arms of immune system. Humoral immunity as well as the cell-mediated immunity. The DNA vaccine can stimulate both the arms of immune system. Now here the point comes, why live vaccines are better than killed vaccine? Because the live vaccine can stimulate both the arms of immune system. Killed vaccines can stimulate only the humoral immunity. They generally cannot stimulate, or they stimulate very less cell-mediated immunity. That is why the live vaccine give better immune response. Now, in case of DNA vaccine, they have the capability to stimulate both the arms of immune system. Okay. Then no site-specific reaction. That means you know that sometimes when you take the vaccine, after taking the vaccine, the site where you've taken the vaccine, so there it gets swollen, it gets inflammation. Okay, that is called site-specific reaction. The DNA vaccines do not have site-specific reaction. Okay. Now we talk about the disadvantages. So one of the most important disadvantage is require adjuvants. So adjuvants means these are the chemical compounds that increase the immune response. So killed vaccines or non-live vaccines, all of them they require adjuvants. Okay, fine. Okay, so let us move to the next vaccine. Now we talk about the ghost cell vaccine. Okay. Ghost cell vaccine. Now, what is meant by ghost cell? So we need to understand what is meant by ghost cell. Any cell that is devoid of DNA. Any cell that is devoid of DNA, that is the ghost cell. Okay. So you know that the DNA is the life of an animal. Oh, sorry, is the life of a cell. If you remove DNA, cell dies. Okay. So that means these are the dead cells. Okay. These dead cells are used as a vaccine. Now, what is the difference between the killed vaccine and the ghost cell vaccine? Killed vaccine, DNA is still inside the cell. Okay, fine. But the cell is killed. In this case, the cell is killed by taking out the DNA. If you take out the DNA from the cell gets died. Okay, that is called ghost cell vaccine. Okay, so there is a particular bacteriophage. It is called 5174. Okay, so this particular bacteria has got a particular gene that is called lysis E gene. Okay, so what happens? What this lysis E gene does? So they have the so now you know the bacteriophage. These are nothing but these are bacterial viruses. So this is a consider this to be the pathogenic bacteria, which we are going to kill. And to kill this bacteria in order to make a vaccine. So we can kill this bacteria by taking out its DNA. So how we can take out the DNA? So this bacteria, it is infected with a bacteriophage. So not any bacteriophage. So this is the I-174 bacteriophage. So bacteriophages are the viruses that infect bacteria. So this particular bacteriophage, it will infect the bacteria. Okay. Then after infection, this bacteriophage will go inside. Will go inside. Okay. Now inside the bacteria, because the bacteriophage it has got a lysis gene. Okay. So this is the DNA of the bacteriophage. So inside the DNA, they have got the lysis E gene. So this gene, it makes the lysis E product. So lysis E is a kind of enzyme. Okay, so it makes the, I would say, lysis E. So this red color is the lysis E product. This product, what it will do, this will make the holes in the cell. So it will create a big hole. So this will create a big hole in the cell. Now when it creates a big hole in the cell, so through this hole, what will happen? The bacterial DNA, so this is the, you can say, the bacterial DNA. So what will happen? This complete bacterial DNA will come out of the cell through this hole. So what will happen? So this complete this DNA, this will, sorry, complete this DNA will come out of the cell to this hole. Okay, and then this particular cell is now devoid of the DNA. So now this cell is dead now. Okay, fine. So that means you make the ghost cell in order to kill that cell. You just put the virus, bacteriophage 5176 virus. It will go inside. Then it will make the lysis E protein. This protein will make the hole in the membrane of the cell, bacterial cell. So through that hole, the big hole, the DNA will come out, and the cell becomes a ghost cell. Okay. So once it becomes a ghost cell, now that is dead. Okay. Now, what is the advantage of using the ghost cell as a vaccine? See, if you use the killed vaccine, you kill it either by using the chemical or by using the heat. Okay. When you use the heat, bacteria gets killed. Okay. But the epitopes of the bacteria, which are responsible for stimulating immune response, those epitope also gets destroyed. Okay. So your antibody response will not be proper. Vaccine will not give the proper immunity. On the other hand, if you're using the chemical method, if you put some chemicals like formaldehyde, so in that case, what will happen? The bacteria will get killed. But the formaldehyde also destroys the epitope of the bacteria or the virus. I mean, it will kill the bacteria because the ghost cell is only for bacterial vaccines. It will kill the bacteria, but will also destroy up to some extent the epitopes. Apart from that, these chemicals will cause sometimes the allergic reactions in some individuals. But in this case, you are simply taking out the DNA. So your host cell, it maintains the epitope. Epitopes are not destroyed because you're not using heat or chemicals. Okay. So the ghost cell, they give better immunity as compared to the cells that is killed by heat or by chemical method. Okay, that is a ghost cell. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the fourth one is the recombinant vector vaccine. Recombinant vector vaccine. So what is recombinant vector vaccines? In this case, what is done? It is just like the earlier one. If we just look into the earlier, not this one. Okay. Say earlier we have discussed about the virus. Okay, this is the virus. Okay, and this virus has got say this particular epitope. Particular epitope is there in the virus. Okay, so what you are doing is that you are just simply taking out the DNA that is responsible for making this particular virus. So you are taking out this DNA that is responsible for making this particular epitope. Now this DNA that you have taken out, okay. Now put this DNA into the DNA of another virus. This is another virus. Now, this particular green virus is a avirulent virus. That means this virus does not cause any disease in the animals or humans. Okay. Now, this particular virus also has the DNA. Okay. Now, in the viral DNA, okay, you can simply put the new DNA. So, this DNA, just put it into the DNA of the new virus. Just put it over here. Okay. So in that case, what will happen? This virus also, it will develop an epitope like this. Now this epitope comes from this particular gene that you have inserted to this virus from this virus. Okay. So now this particular virus, it will develop that epitope that is present in naturally present in this particular virus. Now this green virus, it is not it is not virulent. It does not cause disease. But what we have done is that we have simply taken the epitope from the virulent virus and we have put it into the avirulent virus. Now you use this avirulent virus as a vaccine. This virus will not cause the disease. Okay, but it is having an epitope that is present naturally in the natural virus or the pathogenic virus. So then this will stimulate antibody or it will stimulate immune response against this virus. Okay. Same thing you can do in case of bacteria. Lactobacillus, do you know where we find lactobacillus? Any food item?
In the milk.
Yeah, in the milk, in the curd. What you can do,
But
you can take an epitope of a pathogenic bacteria, okay, and put this epitope in the lactobacillus. That means how you can do, whatever epitope is there, okay, just see which gene is making that epitope. Take that gene and put it inside the DNA of the lactobacillus. The lactobacillus will produce that epitope on its surface. Now, use that lactobacillus to the animal. Lactobacillus does not cause the disease, but the epitope present on the lactobacillus will stimulate immune response against this particular pathogenic bacteria. That is called recombinant vector vaccine. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
See, right now the COVID-19 is there, So in the National Institute of Virology, Pune, so they're doing some research on this. Okay, so they are trying to make a recombinant vector vaccine against COVID-19 virus. What they are doing is that they are just taking one epitope of the COVID-19 virus and they are putting it into another virus called canary pox virus. Canary pox virus does not cause any disease. So that virus, they are taking the gene of the epitope of the coronavirus and putting it inside the canary pox virus DNA. The canary pox virus DNA will produce that epitope that is responsible for giving immunity against the COVID-19 virus. So they are doing the research
Okay.
now. Okay, fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Then
Yes, sir.
the next comes is the gene knockout or gene deletion vaccine. Okay. So what is the gene knockout or gene deletion vaccine? Okay. So in this case, what happens? So gene knockout means what? Supposing that this is a bacteria, pathogenic bacteria. Okay. Now the pathogenic bacteria, okay, say this is the DNA of the pathogenic bacteria. Okay, fine.
Okay.
Okay. Now let us assume that the DNA, this particular part of the DNA, okay, it is a particular gene. Okay. Now this gene is responsible for virulence of the bacteria because the bacteria they have got some genes called virulent genes. So these virulent genes are responsible for the virulence, responsible for the pathogenicity of the bacteria. So what we can do if we remove this gene, if we remove this gene, okay, say for example, let me make it smaller. So this is the bacteria, okay, normal bacteria. So what we are doing is that we are simply removing. I will like to make it in the diagram with a diagrammatic form like this. So what we are doing is that let us remove the virulent gene. So red color portion is the virulent gene, that is the DNA. And then as a result, what we have here is that what we have here is so now this particular DNA, that your red color virulent gene that I've shown here in the diagram, the red color gene is not there. Okay. So now this particular bacteria, this will be called as knockout bacteria. So gene knockout. So what is meant by gene knockout? When you in a particular DNA remove one gene, that becomes gene knockout. Knockout means removal. Okay. So now this kind of bacteria, it is called knockout mutant. Mutant means where there is a change in the DNA. What you have done is that in a bacteria, you have some virulent genes. You remove those virulent genes. And then what will happen? Your pathogenic bacteria will become avirulent. You can use this as a live vaccine. Fine. Because many times you do not find natural mutant that are avirulent. Like state 19 in Brucella, it is a natural avirulent mutant of Brucella abortus. But in this case, many times you may not get natural mutant that you can use it as a live vaccine. So in that case, what you will do? You will take up pathogenic bacteria only and remove the virulent genes. So once you remove the virulent genes, the bacteria becomes avirulent, and that can be used as a live vaccine. Okay.
Yes, sir.